Hello, and welcome back to Wonderland Asylum. We're back today with the big one, stage 20 of the Hachette Partworks release of Build the U96 U-boat. So, what are we doing in stage 20? I may have mentioned it once or twice. It's innocently titled The Forward Bulkhead, but we are basically putting everything that we've made to this point together and fitting it into the hull. So without further ado, let's have a look inside the pack. So, in the pack, looking very innocuous, doesn't look like there's too much here, eh? There is this bulkhead. There is this bulkhead. There are a few sprues with details on them, which again, in themselves, there's actually quite a fair bit of detailing to be done too. So this one might take a little while. Again, the panel has been superbly detailed, which I'm really chuffed about. Obviously another sprue with more relief valves on it. And we have a sachet of EP screws. Right, so without further ado, without further lamenting, let's just get on with it, shall we? So I'm going to drip a little more glue into my tray. Again, this glue is called Glue It, comes from the range stores in the UK. And the first thing we need, it says this bulkhead here, and these details. With the exception of this one here that looks like two bits of Toblerone, we are cutting the other ones off. Just like this. The calm before the storm. Now, as I say, I keep going on and on about it, but I've just been told this is very difficult to get everything to line up. Okay, so this kind of square part here, which is labelled part E, is going on up here onto this lug there. You can see it is a kind of keyhole shape, so it slides over there, just like that. So what I'll do is get my glue. Oh, excuse me. I'll run that over the top of this. And then part E does have that little hole in the side to allow that box to fit through. And it goes on just like this. Then part F, which is basically this little pipe. It goes on here. It needs a little sanding down actually, give me 2 seconds. Oh no, I'm talking rubbish about where it goes. It goes into that slot there, and the pipe section points upwards. So it goes in just like that. It is going to need glued though. It goes into this little slot here, and the pipe faces upwards towards what's going to be the ceiling, like that. Now again, I'm imagining it has to sit straight because everything in this is very precise. And then part G should have a D-shaped key, and it does, just on that side, and it's going in here, just like that. Again, it's not a particularly tight fit, so dab some glue on, and it goes with the pipe detailing facing downwards, just like that. Now the next thing we need are the two little green wheels. Now again, I'm assuming they were colour coded to assist the sailors. Normally green means starboard and red means port, but I'm not sure in this case what the the difference between the green and red wheels is. And they are going into the 2 holes on this part. Now there's a hole there that was left, so I'm going to put that one in first, because I think it'll be easier to put the small wheel in before putting the bigger wheel above it. Just a guess, but an educated one nonetheless. It's very tight against the bottom of the 2 seconds. Might need to use tweezers for this. I would obviously rather not, because I find I'm far less, ironically, I'm far less precise with tweezers than I am with my fingers, but I am going to use my tweezers to push this into the hole if I can get them to grip it without pinging it off. That is the problem I find with the tweezers, is in order to get enough grip to push it in to the hole sufficiently, you end up running the risk of it just pinging off in all directions. Right. Right, I'm going to get this wee one in. You can see the hole it's trying to go in. I'm going to get it in and I'll just come back in a second. Okay, so I actually got it in literally a second later. Oh well. And then the other green wheel goes in immediately above it. Now again, it doesn't help that the hole that smaller one was going into wasn't exactly round. It had a bit of a kind of square bottom on it, and the peg was round, so there we go, that goes in there just like that. The next details we need are the brown one and the black one off of this sprue here. The brown one is going on immediately below into this indent here, with the handle facing towards the door. Just make sure it's sitting straight. Don't want squinty bits. And then this part L, with the beveled section facing downwards towards what's going to be the floor. It's going into the 2 pinholes immediately below, where we've just fitted part K. This is part L. It goes immediately below it, just like that. Very nice. Now the next part is a little bit fiddly. We need these 3 blue pieces, and they need to keep their tab on them. So anything that's blue you don't want to cut off when you're removing it from the sprue. Okay? Now they're purely there, more or less, those tabs to tell you the orientation. Now I've left a little bit too much sprue on that one. So snip. Okie dokie. And as I say, they will only go in either upwards or downwards. Now the top and bottom one, here and here, go in with the tab facing what's going to be the floor. So I'll show you what I mean in just a sec. Like that. Looks like a switch. And the one in the middle goes the other way with the tab facing the ceiling. There we go. Oh. Yeah, don't drop these on the floor. I don't think you're ever finding them if they fall. They didn't give us any spares. You can have a spare screw, but no spare tiny little detail that's likely to ping off into the ether. There we go. That's that one in. And then, as I say, the one in the middle goes with the little tab facing upwards, rather. them downwards, just like that. It's not quite straight, so I'm going to straighten it up. There we go. And that's that bit done. The next thing we need is one of these red wheels, the big ones at least, and the little red wheel that's immediately on the other side of the sprue. There we go. And they are going into these two holes here. So the little one, again, I'm going to put the little one in first because I think it'll be harder. That's all right. Just again, it's going to stick out a little bit. So just make sure you get it actually in the indent like that. And then the big one goes in the other side, but its tab is slightly shorter, looking like that. That looks fantastic, I think. Very nice bit of detailing. Now we need the other red wheel, and we need the kind of almost a junction box, it looks like. Again, it's also nicely detailed in red. The junction box is going down here with the junctions pointing left and up from my perspective. I will fit that in there from my perspective. So it goes on like that, and then the red wheel goes up beside that pipe. So it might have been easier to put the red wheel on before the pipe, but Hachette Partworks. Yeah, it would definitely have been easier to put the wheel in before the pipe, but ayo, it wasn't too difficult. And there we are. Perfect. Now, again, those are 3 sprues, which are mercifully empty. We're now moving on to this sprue, and it's this piece here we need. Looks almost like a TNT plunger, looking just like that. And it is going into those 2 indents there, facing upwards, with a plunger bit, I'm going to call it the plunger bit, facing upwards towards the ceiling. Like that. Very nice. Then, we're done with that. We need the Toblerone bit. Which will allow us to put this sprue in the bin. And it is going on to the bunk section. Now don't ignore the fact I've already put the torpedo tray in the bottom there. That was just a test fit. It fitted nicely, so I decided not to move it. Okay? Now, the pins are offset, and I believe, yeah, the slightly thicker side is going upwards, pointing towards where the ceiling will be just shortly, and it goes into these 2 pinholes here. Again, I probably made it more difficult for myself by having to hold the torpedo bay on, but hey ho. And that's all we need that piece for at the moment. The next thing is we need this bulkhead here, facing this way, and we need to cut off part B, which looks like a large and small button, just like this. And it is going into that hole with the large button facing the ceiling, or closest to the ceiling. A little bit of glue in there. Make sure it's the right way round. And just drop it into its indent, so it should look just like that. And then immediately below that, we are putting the panel, which again is really nicely detailed. I'm chuffed about that. because if it hadn't been, I'd have had to go and add some additional colouring and detailing to it, and I'm just appreciative that they did it for me. Again, it's going into these two hexagonal holes here, like that. Again, not a very tight fit, and that looks just like that. And that is another empty sprue, which means that's us for the sprues. Oh dear. Now I will show you, before we go any further, I did pick out a couple of details in red just on the interior here, just because I thought it looked a bit new. And as I say, I coloured the top, I painted the top of that torpedo red as well, while we're talking about amendments. So now, what I need over is the torpedo tubes that we worked on previously. And what we're doing is figuring out which tube I need. I need this tube first. So it is going in here, and I'm going to push it through until that tab, actually that's lined up really, really nicely. Okay. Let's see. Okay. And we need to make sure those pipes go into that slot. So what I'm going to do is take the two, well, put one pipe's already in. So I'm just going to take some glue, dip it in there, hope that pipe touches it, and then guide the other pipe into its little indent, looking just like that. And then you can see that tab there is the locating tab, and all I'm going to do is simply paint a little glue around there to seal it in, purely because I don't want to start pulling it out and try to push it back in again or anything like that. But see what I mean? That nice detail there is going to be hidden. The detail I painted in there, all going to be hidden. Something sounds a bit sugary, I'm not sure what. Oh well. And then we're doing the same on the other side with the other torpedo tubes. So I'm going to fill that hole, I'm going to fill that hole, and hope that this one fits just as nicely. And it certainly seems to. Yes, yes it does. And fantastic. Oh, actually, not fantastic. I've just popped the end of that tube out. Hang on. Other than that, fantastic. But that's it. Pop that back in. Okay. Now I was led to believe that that was going to be a lot more difficult than it was. But as you can see there, the torpedo tubes all have gone into their mounting point quite nicely. And that is the forward kind of torpedo bulkhead. Okay, now we're going to start putting things together. So I need to get this piece along. I don't think I need to have this located on it already, but I have done, so I'm just going to leave it in place. And we're getting this piece, and you can see all the mounting points there. So what I'm going to do is get two of my EP screws out. Actually, no. I'm going to take this bottom bulkhead off. I'm going to do it the way it's telling me to. Get two of the EP screws out. I do apologise for looking at the instructions, but I'm told this bit is the tough bit, basically. So I'll get everything out of the road. Get one of my screws lined up. And all we're doing is lining those two holes up with the two nubs there, like that. And once that's in, we're holding it together with 2 EP screws. Now thankfully it's not that tight a fit to get the screws in, because I think if you were having to put a lot of pressure, this would make it extremely difficult, in fact near impossible, to hold it all together while you put the screws in. But no, the hole's nicely drilled and it's not too bad, but that's screwed on like that. Oh, that looks amazing. To me anyway. I'm really chuffed with how that looks. And then what we're doing is we can set that on its end just now. We're taking the bow bulkhead that we've just made, lining these 2 nubs up with these 2 holes here, he says, and getting another 2 of the EP screws. Don't know how good the clearance is going to be with this big hunky screwdriver, but again, it's not a tight fit to get the screw in. Perfect. And then turning it round to the other side. Again, line it up nicely and drive the screw in just till it goes tight. You don't want it, as I've said so many times, to go tight then loose again, and that's what that looks like. Now bear in mind you're going to see all this looking in from the viewing ports on the side of the hull. Perfect. Now that looks really good. Now the next thing that we're doing is, again, I'm going to get the next 2 screws out ready. In fact, yeah, it is 2. I was going to say I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2 for the next stage, but it is indeed 2. So I'm going to empty these out, apart from the usual spare one. I'm going to get it ready, because what we're now mounting is the ceiling. Yep, fantastic. So what you need to do is line these 2 pegs up with these 2 bits here, and these poles have to line up with the indents in the ceiling for the bunks. So let's see how well this bit goes together. Now you need to make sure it's under the 2 fixing points there. Oh, my bunk pole isn't lining up properly. It is now. Now my second bunk pole isn't lining up properly. It is now. Perfect. That all looks good. Let's get the first screw in. Ideal. Now let's get the second screw in while everything is still lined up before I release any pressure on anything. There we go. And that, wow, that's just amazing, isn't it? That just looks absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad I put all these wee detailed pieces in, because you can see every single one of them. Not. Okay. Now the next thing we need is 2 more EP screws for the front of the ceiling. Now again, just there we go. Just line those 2 screw holes up. You may need to manipulate it a little bit. There we are. That click sounded satisfying, so I'm assuming it's good, because suddenly the holes lined up a whole lot better. Sorry about the scraping noise at the bottom of the plastic on my cutting mat there. And then the final screw. So, we may actually not have had any spare screws in this issue. So I'm looking, I've got 2 screws, including the one I thought was spare, and we got 2 holes. So I don't think there's a spare screw. I'm just going to finish tightening that first one. Looking just like that. Now look at that. The detail in that. I mean, this is obviously just the front of the submarine. Now a lot of it's hidden, which is a pity, but it's just the way it is, I'm afraid. So again, I need one of the EP screws. I'll get it lined up. Now we're taking the torpedo rack, the underdeck assembly they're calling it, line those 2 tabs there up with the floor. Yeah, okay. They should line up nicely as long as the tabs at the back go into their hole. There are 3 tabs you can see there that need to go into the back piece here. So as long as you line them up and they go in, these 2 tabs at the front should go in, no bother at all. But again, only if these 3 tabs at the back are lining up. Now, one of mine is not. There it is. It's that one there that's not lining up. It is now, and those tabs line up perfectly. And now that that's all secured together, there's a hole there for, you guessed it, an EP screw. Now that one's the tightest so far. I think it's just because that was the bit that fit the least well. And it did. It just about fit. And there we go. That is the underdeck section all lined up too. Again, look at that. That just is absolutely fantastic. It really is. Now, this is the part that I'm told is very, very challenging. Okay? Because we need to bring over the hull assembly. So I'm going to move my screwdriver over because there's no more screws. I was correct, there is a spare. Move my glue over, get everything out of the road because this is challenging from what I am led to believe. Okay. So, the cable with M2, this rainbow cable, needs to be routed through the hole at the bottom of the bulkhead. So I need to pull it through here. Okay. All right. Right, and the rest of these cables should basically go up above this assembly that we've just created. So I'm going to put them up here to keep them out of the way, and I'm going to hold them into that gap in the bracket just there. Okay. Right, I'm just going to have a look through and see how far in it should go. Right, okay. So it should go to these second set of joists. Okay. Now I don't know how far up or how far down it's supposed to go. Oh yeah, it's tight. Very, very tight. I need to, hold on, I'm just checking what way through that cable should go. It should be coming out this side here. So I'm going to get that cable and pull it out the side. Now where this should be going, right. Right, so that sounded very disappointingly cracky. Ah, I see, said the blind man. Now the issue that we're having is that this plate here doesn't flex enough to let you get these torpedoes in. There we go. That is that. Again, just make sure this wire's coming through. And there we go. She is in place. Whew. And that is what that looks like. Absolutely amazing. Now, the only thing we need to do now that this is all done is route our cabling. So this cable here, the rainbow one, in fact, I think I've trapped it underneath something, so 2 seconds, just to no, it seems to be okay. So it's there, the rainbow one. Now, the rest of these cables, the cable 215, which marked M1, which it goes into this slot here on the side. You can see the ceiling has kind of slotted cable markers in it. So it goes into the first slot here, the first slot here, and then it goes in there, like that. Perfect. Now, hold on. I don't think this rainbow cable has enough slack on it. It's showing it should go to roughly the end of that bulkhead and it's going nowhere near it. So give me a second, I'm going to need to remove this again just to get a bit more flex on that rainbow cable. There we go. Aye, that's about as far as it's going to go. Okay, so the next one we need is the other one that's not joined to another cable. It goes in the second slot just here, then just here, and then the second slot here. And then these two, which are the ones that are joined together, they work the anchor. They go, according to this, is the black one goes first, again into that hole there, then down here, and the red one goes in just next to it, to this hole here, and then down there, like that. And that's all the wiring routed. And with that done, that is us. Now look at that. How fantastic does that look? Absolutely amazing. So that's what you're going to see when you've got the side taken off of the hull, is you're going to see all this detail and none of the torpedoes. You'll only see them when we open the doors, and I'm not going to do that just now, purely because I'm absolutely petrified. But yeah, so that is it. That's all there is to do in this stage, and that's all there is to do in pack 5, and that is me entirely caught up with the U96 U-boat. That was nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be, I'll be honest. Well, that was nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be, or that I'd seen other people have problems with. So yeah, that's us for stage 20. What's coming in stage 21? No idea. As of this moment in time, pack 6 has not yet hit the Hachette website, which means it hasn't been dispatched yet. So we'll find out together in the due fullness of time, I suppose. But yeah, this is what we've done so far. Look at that. That looks absolutely stunning, doesn't it? Look at all the detail in there, and it gives you a kind of idea of what it's going to look like when you take the side panels off. Look at the size of it already. And just as a little treat, I have hooked up the batteries. So you can see the torpedo bay doors opening. Look at that. That is amazing. And again, I think, not to blow my own trumpet, but painting those torpedo ends red has added a nice bit of detail, but that's what you're going to get. Then obviously the bay doors close again. I'm over the moon. Absolutely over the moon. So yeah, thanks for watching as always. Any feedback, comments, criticisms, complaints, pop them down below. Do leave me a like and do subscribe to see the rest of this magnificent submarine, the U96 U-boat, the rest of Titanic, Lancaster bomber, and as I say, there may be a new one coming soon too. But yeah, thanks for watching, and as always guys, peace out everyone.